Before we do that, though, Eric, we'd love for you to share a little more with us, if you would.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Thank you. I have to say, too, it's just inspiring to me to hear all these different ideas. Um, I wish we would have all had this conversation 10 years ago. Um, um, I'm seeing in some of the chat, there's a couple different things places that I could go with this, but in some of the chat, people are talking about the visuals, the actual visuals. And I love how Tesfa said, at some point, these square boxes are going to get old. I couldn't agree with that more. First, on just a literal level, at some point, it's like, yeah, I got it. Brady Bunch on steroids. I don't need it anymore in my life. But then even more so, it's that there's an opportunity when making these virtual choirs to have a visual metaphor that's as important or more important than the music that you're making. It's a chance. For me, all the great artwork works on multiple levels at the same time. And it's what I always aspire to in my own music, that even a simple chord means something on many levels. For our virtual choir, if you'll allow me, we chose the concept of kintsugi. It's a Japanese art form. And the basic idea with kintsugi is that they've been practicing it for hundreds of years. You take a broken pot or piece of ceramic like this, and then when healing it, you fill the epoxy, the glue, with gold, sometimes silver, but mostly gold, kintsugi. And then in the healing, what you get, this is one that my wife is working on. You can see that the pot is broken. That what you get is you don't try to hide the scars of the break. You actually beautify and illuminate the scars. That the healing is not only important to its narrative, but that in its new strength, it's more beautiful than it was before you began. And for me, this was the perfect visual metaphor for what we're all going through right now. On multiple levels, the way society is, that I saw first with COVID, just this unbelievable explode. It was as if society was just isolated from each other. And so in our very simple way, in our video, we have all the videos isolated from each other. And then slowly, they start to come back together. And then as you see people, we use light instead of gold. So you see they get connected through light. And then as the video expands and you see more and more people, they evoke images of continents coming together. So whole peoples coming together in this idea that, and then even in that final image where we have 17,000 people on a screen, you still see the cracks. Those cracks will always be there. These scars are an indelible part of our history as a people, and if I can say here in America, part of our country's history. But it's important to acknowledge those things and then move forward, knowing that ultimately those things will make us stronger. Anyway, it's a way of using the visual palette of the virtual choir in a way that you never could with a traditional choir. That you can have the music and the word and the images creating a really holistic art form that has the potential to not only move people emotionally, but transform them a little bit, which is, I think, what we're all trying to do as artists anyway.
Yeah, what a beautiful idea. I love that. Yeah, making something beautiful out of imperfection. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Eric. We appreciate that. I'm going to go now to some of the questions that have been offered from you all. The first question is going to go to Janet Galvan. Janet, we'd love for more information on your piece that you premiered with your choir, and also if it is posted anywhere that they can see and hear.
Yes, I actually put that in the chat just a little bit earlier, but if you go to, shall I do that again? Did that come through? At any rate, yes, it's on Ithaca. If you put Ithaca College live stream and you go into the archives from spring 2020, but I'll post it again. And for Michael Buswood's Quorum's piece, I also posted Michael's website, and you can go directly there. In fact, I know that Michael is working with California choral directors this summer to work on that piece as well.
Thank you very much, Janet. And we had another question that I'm actually going to send to our president, Dominic DeGorio. Dominic, it was asked to please discuss copyright issues regarding university choirs that are members of ASCAP and BMI making virtual choir videos. Are we legal in making and posting on YouTube, Facebook, etc., published pieces of choral music that is under copyright? Dominic, thoughts about that?
Hi, everyone. I was hiding here under the NCCO production guise, but anytime you want to post copyrighted material anywhere, you need either permission to do so, or you need to have a license, and actually sometimes a variety of licenses, so that composers and poets are fairly compensated for their work. Right. And so what this means, if you know a composer personally and they wrote you a piece and it's not published by anyone but them, and they know the poet, or it's a public domain text, and you have their written permission, then you can post it. If, however, it's a piece that's published by any major publisher, or if you don't have the composer or the poet's permission, you need to seek that permission. And you need a variety of licenses to do so. And there's a difference between live streaming content and on-demand content, and both require different kinds of licenses to make sure that people like Eric Whiteacre are fairly compensated for the work they've done for you. And so, yeah, don't just assume that you can post something publicly to share it without checking for these rights and permissions. They are really important, and they help to make sure that we care for and put food on the table for our composers who, like every artist right now, is experiencing hardship. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dominic, and that's an important for us to know. I noticed that there's a question for Tesfa about BRoll versus ARoll. Would you talk about that just a little bit, Tesfa?
Yeah, I mean, when I think, and Eric kind of, I think, answered when he followed up, it's just basically the primary video. A is basically being primary, B being secondary. And sometimes you can have really, I would say, riveting and compelling B-roll that can really amplify the overall message and meaning and activate people to get involved. So that's what I meant specifically about B-roll.
And while you're talking, would you speak just a little bit about Black is King and Beyonce? For those who haven't seen any of the advertising about it yet, why don't you
if you have Disney Plus, this is, again, I promise y'all I'm not getting paid by Beyonce or Disney or anybody. But you could go online, and basically it's a modern day version of The Lion King, and how they've basically taken The Lion King, but Beyonce has included an original album with it. But she's using her platform to amplify all of these incredible African artists, and the visuals are mind-blowing. And she takes you on an hour and 25-minute journey that will make you say, I need to watch that 2 or 3 more times to get it all. But it's so empowering to see people and artists using their platform in that way to amplify Black voices and to build pride, to take a story that so many of us are familiar with, like The Lion King. How many people know Hakuna Matata? Let's be real. We know, right? Eric got his hand up. That we know that song. That's a bop, as the kids say these days. But, you know, as we think about, you know, creating access points with a larger audience, I think it's genius that she chose the story of The Lion King. You're talking about a broad reach. I'm a millennial, so I can think about, I grew up on The Lion King. It's kind of what Kanye West did with his Jesus is Born album. He took all of these old school songs that millennials like me were crazy about and redid Genuine and SWV, and it was intentional. And I believe that Beyonce has done the same thing, but just being very thoughtful in how we can create content in this way, because I really do believe that the possibilities are limitless.
Thank you very much, Tesfa. Yes, I think that's sort of the, yes, sir.
I'm sharing some tools. Some people asked about, for people who are just entering the conversation on social justice, I just shared up with you that I did not create this guide, but coming from a media perspective is that some people might need to access it via podcasts or articles or YouTube videos. You can see it's based on Janet Helm's Stages of White Identity Development. There's a Google Doc there. Please feel free to share. They have ways that you can get involved and donate. But this is an incredible resource as you start the year. If you're not comfortable starting a conversation, you can even turn to this document. And I'm going to share another one, a racial equity tool guide that talks about racial identity development as well.
Thank you very much, Tesfa. I appreciate it. And I want to give a huge thanks to all of our panelists today. And maybe if we just have one last word of wisdom from Eric before we go.
Oh God, wisdom.
Or trivial.
Travel back to 1998 and buy Apple stock as much as you can afford. That would be
right.
No, it's only this, and I don't know that it's wisdom as much as it is maybe just aspirational. That if any of you are like me, and I'm assuming many of you are like me, I'm still in shock. 5 months into this, I just can't believe this. It never, I couldn't possibly have conceived of this place in time where what we do, the most beautiful, benign, benevolent possible art form, would not only be dangerous, but would be a threat to those other people that we do it with. I just couldn't imagine this world. And it's shocking. And all of us are now trying to stumble forward and figure out some way to keep this thing alive until we can come back together. And every day we read news and we read science updates and we think, oh, great, it's only a couple of months. Oh no, it's going to be 5 years. Oh no, it's the unknowing of the thing is so disorienting. I'm assuming all of you feel like this. I see the other panelists, everyone nodding their head. For all of you out there who are in this incredibly important position of leading, in this case, leading your own communities and then leading within our larger community of the choral art form, know that what you are doing is essential, that it is important. It's, as Jason said, it's much bigger than just music. We're actually teaching empathy, we're teaching compassion, we're teaching people to be better people, better citizens. It's a huge burden for all of us to carry, and sometimes it can feel very lonely. Know that of right here in this room, we've got 202 attendees and then the panelists here. So there's 208 people who all have each other's backs. And we all know the beautiful thing about the choral community worldwide is that, man, are we a community like no other community I know. And so continue reaching out, continue having this dialogue, reach out to all of us. We're all super accessible on social media. Together, we're all gonna get through this. And I do believe that actually when we come out the other side, I really believe this, people will never, ever take for granted again what we do, which is getting together in a small room and singing. No one will ever take it. I know myself personally, I will cherish this like nothing I've cherished before. And I believe that kind of built up kinetic energy is going to launch us into a true golden era of singing. I really believe our very best days are ahead of us. And we just got to stay strong until that happens. Good luck, everyone.
Absolutely. And thank you, Eric. Yeah. Thank you to all of my wonderful panelists who joined us today, to our guest panelist, Eric Whiteacre, to Jason, Tesfa, Janet, Nicole, thank you for contributing. To all of you who have been contributing in the chat, you are the best sources of information, so let's keep it going. Friends, we were all hit kind of hard in spring 2020, and it's helped encourage us to think of new and inventive ways to engage in this art that Eric was talking about. We'd like to remind you it's not an or, it's an and. Yes, traditional choir is what we all aspire for, and virtual choirs can be a great resource for us as we move forward with or without the COVID epidemic. So we want to thank everyone that have been leaders in that and providing resources. We also want to encourage you all to keep the conversation going. We encourage you to go to the webpage for NCCO and view the upcoming webinars. A special thanks to NCCO and all of our national organizations and the leadership in NCCO, President Dominic DeGorio and our President-elect Miguel Felipe, for being leaders and providing us resources and keeping this conversation going. Be safe, have courage, and keep reaching out, my friends. We'll see you soon.